Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Welcome in, everybody. It is another episode of Scarves and Spikes. Here with you, Tyler, Tommy, Sydney. The whole crew is back together finally. It's
back together again.
Been a minute. Like everything has been going on. Life has happened, but we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be joined here in a little while by our good friend Kevin Egan. We've got a live show tomorrow to talk about. We've got games to talk about. We've got other games to talk about. So
a lot going on.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody?
I'm ready to get into it. I'm ready to go. Tommy, you ready to go?
I'm so glad June's almost over. June is like the worst month of the year. And like this week has just been, it's been a wedding, my kid's birthday, and now we have Mono in the house. Yeah. So I'm just hiding in the basement at the moment.
Mono.
You got all the medicine ready to go for her.
It's a kissing disease. It's the kissing disease. So. I know. I said, "Give me your phone." We're texting the boyfriend.
Right.
We're having a conversation.
Find the guy who
we're having a
We have.
I had mono when I was a kid. I found out on Christmas Day that I had mono, and I was in terrible things. But you know, the girl gave it to me. I blamed her. When my mom said, "What'd you do?" Sorry. It was her.
I've heard it's pretty miserable.
I mean, I guess it could be like the funnest disease you can get, right? Like, because you usually have to, unless you're like sharing a fork, then that's not the fun way of getting it. But anyways.
I feel like no disease is fun to have. Really. Yeah. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, it better have been worth it.
Right. Well, I deserve it. I got a tall boy for this one because I needed something. It's the girliest drink possible as well. Just because it's called Lover Boys, and it's white peach tea. Get this, with a kiss of lavender, not like a splash of lavender. It's just and going along with the mono, right? Kissing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Just ignore me for the rest of the episode.
Same theme, keeping it in house. Everything.
I'm gonna try and finish this while you guys talk.
Hyla, you mentioned the live show on Thursday, by the way. Why don't you tell us more about that?
All right. So here's the deal, Ariel. You'll be at the live show. Good. Bring all your friends. Bring everybody. So
when is it? Where is it?
It's going to be tomorrow. We're kicking off at 4:00 at the Nest on 4 bar at the Signia Hotel. Giant glass building right next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You just go in, go up.
We know where it is already. We know where it is.
Look, I got to make sure everybody knows. Go in, follow the signs, go up the escalators. You're right there at the bar. You walk in. We're going to be there hanging out. We will have Neil Beathy from U.S. Soccer. He's the Chief Communications Officer for U.S. Soccer. He's going to be there just chatting U.S. soccer in Atlanta, soccer in the country, men's national team, Copa America. Maybe he'll have some news to talk about tomorrow as well, which may be cool. So
is Berhalter out?
Huh?
Is Berhalter going to be out? Is he going to announce it?
No. No. Right now, like right before they kick off against Panama?
Yeah.
That's when he's going to drop a bomb?
Yep.
No.
That'd be a hell of a breaking news.
I know.
Yes, it would. No, that's not.
You were on breaking news today. You were on Soccer Down Here when the Almada thing broke.
I was. That was like this is like a whirlwind. The news with Almada, it's like every time I flip open my phone, there's something different. There's somebody saying one thing, there's somebody else saying something different. There's other people calling people liars. So
hold on. What do you mean flip open your phone?
You know what? I was hoping nobody caught that. Shut up, Sydney.
It's 1990.
2024.
I have an iPhone.
Anyone flips phones up anymore.
You just had to catch on to that.
I had the sidekick thing that like flipped up.
That
like
thing
it kind of just, and the little keyboard was there. I felt so cool having that.
But yeah, we're kicking off at 4 tomorrow. We're going to go for about an hour. So if you don't have tickets to Copa, just hang out in the bar. The bar is freaking sweet. It's got the overhead halo board that's designed just like the one in the Benz. But if you do have tickets, you'll get out in plenty of time to get over to the Benz, get your seat, no problem. So, yeah, come hang out with us. It'll be a good time.
I'm excited. I won't be here, unfortunately. I'll be on the road, but I know you'll be holding it down. So, yeah. And by the way, we'll be streaming. Yeah, Tony Leon will be there.
Yep,
our guy. So yeah, we'll be streaming it. So
Tony Leon.
Tony.
What you got?
I was gonna say this Almada news. This Almada news is coming pretty fast, and it could be, guys, within the realm of possibility that Saturday, and I'm kind of stealing Doug's headline. Saturday could be Thiago Almada's last match for Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Because look at the schedule, right? You look at Saturday, they play against TFC, who we'll talk about that a little bit later on. They go on the road for 2 matches, New England and RSL. Then they're back July 9th to take out Indy 11 in the US Open Cup quarterfinals. So there's a possibility that in the Olympics start, there's a possibility that before that US Open Cup match, he'll be gone. So it's very possible that Saturday could be your last time to see Thiago Almada in Atlanta United uniform at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Wait, did Doug finally admit he's leaving? Is that a thing?
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
There's a lot of people that just laughed at that, Sydney. There's a lot of people listening right now. They're just going, They know. I mean, does he even play on Saturday?
Yeah, I think he'll play.
I mean, that's a valid question, though, right? Like, I think he will. If he doesn't, though, it's pretty telling, I think. We'll see.
I mean, I think he'll play. I think if nothing more, they could get him. And again, this is not final, but Cesar Luis Murillo, for what it's worth, reporting that it is finalized $20 million to Botafogo. He'll spend some time there before he gets transferred to Lyon. And we kind of joke about kind of the backroom dealings that John Textor, the owner, made to get him over, apparently. But it looks like this is happening. This is very close to happening. And now you have potentially 2 DP spots where you have 1. Now you have another with Almada. You buy Gregerson down, you'll have 3. So I know, Tommy, you brought the point in our Discord. Not on our Discord, I'm sorry, on X, that this could be a much, much different team next season by the time we're sitting here. So many changes coming.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've been waiting for, right? Garth came in and he came into a gigantic disaster, right? There was just a lot of bad contracts out there. The U22 situation was terrible. Everything, the DPs were a mess. And now everything's accelerating so quickly. Whether you make some of these changes now, maybe make a change or 2 this year, and then next year you've got a bunch of expiring contracts. You've got potentially, like you said, buy down Gregerson. Like this is the time in the next 8 months where now you are going to see the full rebuild of Atlanta United, because you're going to be able to hopefully get rid of Sosa and Ibarra. Who knows what happens with Mascara, but I mean, this is next year, next February, the end of February, if we're sticking to that schedule. It's gonna be completely different than what we looked at this February. It's gonna be crazy. Cohen likely starting, right? Like and who knows about Caleb Wiley too, right? I mean, there's been rumors about him. Is he gonna be around here? There's just so much movement going around here. I think, once we see this next summer, you're going to be like, this is the team that Garth Lagerwey wanted. And hopefully we're all a lot happier than what we are right now of where we are in the standings.
Yeah. I think, MLS is first of all, soccer is such a volatile sport, right? Like it differs in a lot of ways from many other sports, and just the way that a player can completely change the way that a team operates as a whole. And I think you're in a situation now where, like, look, Giakoumakis left, but thankfully Atlanta has 2 backup strikers that not backup anymore, but strikers that are doing the job. I mean, you're at least getting something out of them. And it may not be pretty all the time. Reference, we'll talk about it in a minute, but that penalty from the other day. But you're getting something out of them. Like, you're getting production.
What's said the better about that penalty?
Well, yeah, it was ugly.
That was Joseph Light. Very, 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 very light.
Very light. That was like
Very
Joseph
light.
from Temu. It was not. No.
That was like the Joseph Toronto kick.
Why do you got to bring that up? Why do you got to bring that up?
I just got to compare it to something.
But yeah, I mean, you bring in somebody as a replacement for one of the two, right? I don't think you have to jump the gun and necessarily fill the spots now. Again, assuming everything goes forward with Almada, but you need to jump on something, because look, Logaway and company, Bocanegra, they're smart enough to, and they have the net, as the term they like to use. That net is wide enough to cast to where they can go out and really focus on hitting a DP spot, just one of them, 2 if they find a gem, but one of them that's going to fit whatever coach they may bring in. Because what you're not going to do, at least in my opinion, is go out and find a coach that's just not going to work with the majority of the players that you have right now. I mean, I know that they're going to have at least a style that they want to stick with, at least an idea of the kind of play that they want to have happen. I don't think it's going to be going from Tata to Frank de Boer again. So knowing that, you should know what kind of player you need to bring in to complement the style of play that you're going to have ultimately, whether you keep Rob or whether you bring in another coach at the end of the day.
And I've said this before. I'll say it again. I don't think you need a new manager before you get a DP or DPs. Because if you feel like it, Tyler, I know you're all about, hey, the season's not over yet. I mean, it's not. 19s make the playoffs. So if you get on a hot streak later in the season, I mean, you can do some damage, but you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you don't address at least one of these spots. And I see the discourse saying, hey, you have to get a new manager. I don't think you do. I think Atlanta United already had plans for if and when Gigi left, which he's gone. They have plans for if and when Thiago Almada is gone, which it seems like he is. This isn't, they wake up and like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? They have a list. They have target players that they can pursue and go after if a player gets sold. So again, you have to, go for it. You have to go for it. You don't need to wait or anything like that. Go for it and get the right people in that kind of match your overall vision, and hopefully they hit, and you can, again, make that late season push. You're not going to win the conference, obviously, but yeah, make that late season push, get into the playoffs, and then hopefully get a hot streak and be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah. And I saw what D Manatunga said. I think that's Dylan, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But he said, we've done so many non-manager DP signings that haven't worked out. And then I saw the other comment saying that implies that we're sticking with Pineda style. I really disagree. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to come across that way. Again, that's a totally different conversation. But I mean, I think, and this piggybacks on another, what Josh said, we need a number 10 or a number 9. I mean, I think you need a playmaker. It doesn't have to be a stereotypical number 10. It doesn't have to be Almada, Messi, not even Lucho Acosta. But you need somebody that's going to gel the front to the back and be more of a leader than Almada was. I think that's what this team needs up front right now. Almada was doing his thing on sheer talent, but I'd never felt like he was the guy that was leading the front line for a variety of reasons. He's young. He had Giakoumakis up there for a lot of it. There's a lot of things. But you can get a player of a similar mold. That doesn't mean you're stuck playing with a 4-back. You're stuck playing a certain way. I think, honestly, the way that Rob's playing right now, you get a number 10-ish guy that has solid ball control, a solid first touch. Bruno, don't say that name. Jürgen Damm.
He's just after me. This is what Bruno does. Just
I know he does. But
don't pay the troll toll.
But ultimately, you get your guy that is going to be able to, kick off counters. He's going to be able to put the ball on a dime where it needs to be for those big guys up front. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. But other people see that point of bringing in all these DPs when you don't have a manager and they haven't worked out. I think a lot of that more has to do with how those players were being brought in, right? The lack of everything. I'm not going to go through it all again, but like just the lack of resources that this team has had for such a long time. I think that's part of it. Also, some of them have been emergency, like the Moreno. I'm sorry, Tyler, but like that was like an emergency one where they brought in to try to save a season. And it hasn't worked out. I think that you have a much larger history of seeing what Garth Lagerwey has done previously, and I don't think he's gonna, make a bad signing to save this season, because that's been if this was prior to Garth Lagerwey, I'd be freaking out at the moment that they have all these spots and we're just trying to do this emergency signing to get into the playoffs this year. This is not about this year. This is about 2-3 years of consistency, and I think that's what everybody wants. I think if you told everybody today we are not going to make the playoffs in 2024, but we're going to, if the trade-off would be, hey, we're not going to make the playoffs this year, but we are going to make the playoffs the next 3 years, right? And hopefully be in the top, 4 or 5. I think fans would take that replacement and, that situation in any situation. Yeah, can't talk today.
You're good. That's me most days. JBG saying on X, asking about, Bocanegra picking the next 2 DPs. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as a whole picture. It's not just one person saying, okay, let's go with these 2 players. This is an entire front office rolling in the same direction. This isn't just Bocanegra making the decision. This is Garth Lagerwey providing his input. This is the scouting department adding their input. This is, again, that whole picture coming together to present or go after players that fit, again, this archetype. I know Bocanegra has the target on his back. Nobody likes him, etc. But I will say this. I will say that even though the goodwill toward him is really low at this time, which I understand, he's not the one that I think your anger is displaced, really, at this point. But again, it's going to take a whole front office effort. I think Garth Lagerwey understands that, a lot of pieces of the puzzle have to be in place to make sure that this team is playing to their best of the ability. So that's where I stand on it. I don't want people to be freaked out and say, oh, Bocanegra is picking 2 DPs. That's a little bit broader for discussion besides that.
Yeah, if you're not paying, like, if you don't know, like, how, I think before, and I think their anger is correct from history of what happened, because I think it was one major guy that was really picking this roster. I don't think there was a lot of help there. Like, a lot of it was just on Boca. But now, that's when I put that tweet out, there were a lot of responses back saying, but Boca's making this. But, we haven't hit it right in a long time. But I understand the results haven't been there this year. I get it. But mostly, a lot of these guys that we've brought on have been pretty good, right? Or they were good at one point. Like, someone was arguing about, Mayumba, right? Like, how he came in great, and he's been really struggling a lot this year. Or maybe Silva, is another example there. Not every one that you're going to have is perfect, but I think overall, you're really hitting with a lot of these guys. Gregerson and Slish have been, Gregerson, when he's healthy, has been pretty damn good. Slish, I've had nothing to complain about at all with him, besides maybe the first game of the season. Everything, Williams, right? Most of these, Giakoumakis was before technically Garth anyways, but he was pretty good when he was healthy as well. Injuries are injuries, and unless they have a huge history of them, they're hard to predict. But I think I have confidence at least in this situation, and I think I have confidence too with the new manager. I still don't think it's Rob. We've had quite a few talks in spaces, and Bruno's been trying to sign Rob Valentino to a 13-year contract, actually a lifetime contract. But, just kidding, Bruno. But like, I don't see, I don't want to quote Felipe here, but I think that a big club or whatever, you need to find a guy with experience for this down line, because if we go into the season next year and Rob has a great finish here, and then all of a sudden you start 1-6, people are gonna go, why did you sign this guy? He had no experience. We're gonna be right back into the Pineda talk situation. So unless he gets you to MLS Cup, or the conference finals, I just don't see Rob being that guy long term.
Yeah, in terms of players,
this is a good thing for him, though, right? Yeah. I was gonna say, like, this is a good thing. No matter what happens, whether Rob's, he's obviously doing things right now. So if we say thank you, Rob, at the end of the season, and he goes takes a head coaching job somewhere else, good for him. This is an equal opportunity for Atlanta United and for Rob.
And he got an interview after the last head coaching interim job that he had. So he was noticed then and interviewed for a position, I think with Salt Lake, maybe. Anyway, but yeah, I think ultimately, no matter what, it's going to work out well for Rob, regardless.
Yeah, he'll land on his feet somewhere, whether it's here or elsewhere. I want to hit on Josh's comment on YouTube. He's asking any sexy prospects out there for Atlanta United. I know Callum Wilson from Newcastle has come up. I believe he's on a free. He's set to leave the club, according to reports. I know that's one thing that's been out there. Pedro Amador from Portugal, the Portuguese left back. I feel like more of a depth-ish signing, but can start when Wiley goes to the Olympics. Those are players that have been out there. Wilson will be a DP. I feel like Amador will be a low-TAM player, if anything. Outside of that, guys, I haven't heard anything else. Of course, you have Griezmann, who will be reportedly on a low release fee. Release fee is what I'm trying to say. There's reports about that and kind of laugh about that. But outside of Wilson, outside of Amador, I've not heard of anything. Have you?
No, Tommy, what are we doing? No,
continue, Omar. Thank you, Omar. Thank you. I needed that today.
The Pedro rumor, I would argue maybe, obviously the big thing for the short term is going to be, obviously, if the signing goes through, you have that depth there for when Caleb goes to the Olympics. But look, put him back there as the left back and have Caleb start pushing Xande Silva for time as a left winger. That's his traditional role. That's what he played for the majority of his career before he made his first team debut. Let him get up there and create chaos and wreak havoc. That's what he's good at. But you get somebody back there who's a traditional left back that can maybe help solidify defensively, you're set. Because then Caleb is going to push Xande for minutes, and there's going to be a little bit of competition there. And then on the other side, you're going to have Saba when he comes back and Edwin Mosquera. So you get some healthy work out of it. Then, of course, you throw Tyler Wolff into the mix, and you've got a very strong, winger core again. So I think that's what you need. But, yeah, we've all heard the rumors. There's options and potentials out there. Obviously, Griezmann's the big one. That would be amazing. But I think you've got to at least ask. You have to ask, and if it works out, great.
I'm here for playing on turf. Do you like playing on turf?
Exactly.
Yeah. But hey, he does play Football Manager, and apparently he's pretty good at it. So that'll be our first conversation. What club are you rolling with in Football Manager this season?
Dan on YouTube saying, talking about Adrien Rabiot. Rabiot is 29 years old. Yeah. Face for Juve. Obviously knows Griezmann well from the French national team, so maybe that's another name. We haven't seen any reports of Rabiot being or leaving Juve, but if it happens, if he does, why not? Why not? Maybe the production isn't there the same it is with Griezmann, but you have a DP level striker, a player that knows what it takes to win on an international level. Serie A, PSG, the French national team, World Cup winner. A lot of places where he's won. So you have that going for him. So I don't know. We're just kind of dreaming right now, but
you have to ask though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The same thing with the coaching search. Like, you've got to go ask, Gallardo. You've got to go ask Pochettino. You've got to go ask some of these guys, because you never know. I mean, is Atlanta, LA, where you have the beach? Is it Miami where you have the beach? No, but Atlanta does have a big draw in many, many ways. So you got to go ask both the players and the coaches.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
Speaking of,
what?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of rumors, sounds like FC Cincinnati are on the verge of getting Weston McKennie, as Isaac reminded us on YouTube.
Good. Let the United States Twitter go after Cincinnati for a while. Jeez.
Yep. He said,
think about it. Robinson and him. Oh yeah,
God, yeah.
They'll be on every tweet that Cincinnati does. Good. Send them all to Cincinnati's Twitter. I'm sick of them.
Cincinnati can't stay healthy these days. So
that's why they're looking for.
I thought that was only an Atlanta thing.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding.
Yeah, I think
that's out there.
I think you've got to go big, and kudos to Cincinnati for going big. I mean, why not shoot your shot? See what happens.
Yeah,
we'll probably have some stuff coming out soon over on scarfsandspikes.com as well about potential replacements. Jackson did a really good one the other day. Henry has done one for the coaching search. Like, go check it out over on the website. There's some good stuff there.
However,
I don't know.
I just wanted to say, however,
you got to do the finger. However, St. Louis, got to talk about this real quick. So, first of all, I mean, it's 4 points, 2 matches on the road in 4 days. Had you said that was going to happen a week ago, I think we all probably would have laughed. We would have said it would be good, but we probably would have laughed. So you go up to DC, you get a win, then you go straight to St. Louis and you get a draw. A hard-fought draw, but you got it. So what were y'all's thoughts overall, just in general?
I mean, I'm a little disappointed that you let St. Louis score, because they've of late been a very offensively anemic team, sort of like Atlanta United. So that's disappointing that kind of this goalless streak ended there. Just a really preventable goal, I think. You have to give Atlanta credit, though, on the way they bounced back. They didn't let their heads hang. They bounced back, and for what it's worth, really bad penalty by Daniel Rios, but he stayed with it and got his goal. Kind of the poacher's instinct to knock it in after Berkey made the initial save. So this is a team that was kind of leaking goals, and unfortunately, Atlanta United were able to just put one on the board, essentially from a penalty spot. But at the same time, I think this team maybe a few weeks ago kind of hangs their head and maybe doesn't come back for that deficit. Granted, it's 1-1, so you don't get the win, but you do get a point. You got 3 points the other night before that. So for a team that has struggled to play well on the road traditionally over the past 2 years, you get as many points as you can. I mean, this is good. This is good. And you have to build on it and eventually flip those 1 points into 3 points and give yourself half a chance going into this latter portion of the season. And hopefully, before that, win at home. But then after that, you have 2 very tough away matches against New England, who have caught fire, and Red RSL, who are virtually unbeatable at this point in time outside of the other night. So, yeah, get points where you can and hope that you can get yourself some results against New England and Real Salt Lake. If you come out of that with 4 points, you're flying high. I mean, not to look ahead, but
hey, Tommy,
I'm not looking ahead. I'm not looking past TFC, by the way.
Yeah,
that'd be
we'll
foolish.
We'll get
I just watched the second half. That was the time in the night where I had to start sobering up. So to avoid all the people trying to feed me shots, I hid in a corner and I pulled the game up and I watched the second half. Like it was all outside, so I was like hiding in the woods. So people were probably like, "What's this creeper in the woods doing here?" And I'm screaming,
"Wedding crasher!"
Right, screaming when a goal goes in. And yeah, I mean, they're creating chances. It's not beautiful, right? It's not beautiful soccer, but they're able to grind out a point there, and they had opportunities. I think the reason why I ran to my phone is I saw Gregerson came in, and then it was like, no, Gregerson has a yellow, and I was like, all right, what the hell is going on here? Is this correct? So I ran into the corner and started watching it. I'll tell you the smallest thing that really stuck out to me in that game, and it's so small, but it was right towards the end of the game. Gregerson just outran a forward to that ball and just like shoved him down. And that's like, we've had such short time with him because of all the injuries. But when you do get a chance to like watch him play, like I wish there was like, how like there's certain like cams in like some games where like you just watch a single player. I would love to just have one on Gregerson just to be able to, because like he's been here so long, but we haven't really had a chance to enjoy him because of everything that's happened with him. But it's just so much fun watching him, and just a little play like that, outrunning the guy, tackling him. It's impressive, and I just love him so much. Hopefully he stays healthy.
He's elevated this defense so much, and that's not to say there aren't still flaws, but it's no secret when he and Williams play together, the level of this defense just has been elevated, and he's been terrific. He has been terrific. Tommy, like you said, it's a shame that he's going to be able to stay a little bit more healthy, but when he's out there, absolutely.
And absolutely. Derek has been an absolute monster. And then, of course, we got to give a quick shout to Jay Fortune, because I thought he had probably his best match in an Atlanta United kit the other day. Yeah. He read passing lanes so well. He took a shot that basically moved the net. He was on fire, and it was good to see. And going back to what we mentioned a little bit ago with where this team is going right now, as we get ready to bring on Kevin, you've got a lot of youth right now, and you got to give credit to everybody in the academy, the twos, front office, everything, because the youth has been keeping Atlanta alive and on fire right now. Think about what Luke Brennan's been doing. Jay Fortune had a good game. Yep. Noah Cobb and Ephraim Morales are, I mean, they're at the point now where it's like you're used to them playing well and used to them standing up like grown men against grown men. So I think it's great. I think the academy is paying off big time right now, for sure. So
I was going to say real quick, credit to the academy, credit to what Matt Laurier is doing down there, and credit to Steve Cook, because a lot of these guys with the twos already getting that experience that we would have otherwise gotten with the first team. So credit to him, credit to his staff. Maybe it doesn't show up, in the wins, losses, draws, but you're still seeing the fruit of that effort, fruit of that coaching, the lower levels blossoming. And so
for sure.
Quick shout to them.
So all of that put together, we talked about Derek, but our real favorite Irishman is here. Kevin Egan, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, fellas, great to see you. Should I turn this to the side? I'm having computer issues, so I just logged in on the phone here. Hope that's okay.
Hey, you do you. Sure, you're fine. I like your
background.
background.
Yeah, cheers. Getting fancy for you, lads.
Yeah. So how's it been? How you been doing?
Life is great. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks. Honestly, really, really good. My wife and kids are great, and traveling back and forth to New York every weekend and during the week a lot for MLS 360 and wrap up now, and having fun with it. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to a crazy few weeks. We've got All-Star coming up. I'm going to be hosting the Skills Challenge and All-Star game, and then we go into Leagues Cup. So life is wonderful. I'm very lucky, very grateful, and just blessed and enjoying it.
Yeah, I had to laugh because, before the show, I was watching, you guys do your little skit before every 360 now. So I was watching the one you guys did on Saturday, related to Euros and Copa America. I had to laugh at what you were telling Brad, it's not coming home. So
you know what? Like we honestly, Sidney, we get like 45 seconds to play with every week with that. And my thing is, why not just try something new? Why not just do something a little bit different every week? Otherwise, I could stand there and say, you're very welcome along to MLS 360. 13 games tonight, folks. Right. Here's what we've got. And do a generic run through of what games we have. We're going to talk about those games for the next 4.5 hours. So we may as well have a little bit of a laugh. And it's the 45 seconds we get to be that little bit more creative. And thankfully, honestly, from my standpoint, Kaylin, Brad, and Sash are well up for the fun and diving in with it. And our producer, Owen, has been outstanding. And maybe a little teaser for you guys alone. But this week, I mean, today, Ricky Pooch took a bit of a shot at Sasha Collection. So we may have to take that into 360 on Saturday.
Here we go. I like this. Make it a little spicy. I'm excited. So,
Kevin, I'm interested to see. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I'm interested to see how Columbus handles the All-Star game and how they welcome everyone there. I was there years ago. The NHL All-Star game was there maybe 5-6 years ago. And it was the whole city was really cool with it. And they did a good job. I don't know if you really have had a time to visit around that area, but that new stadium, the bars and the entire atmosphere has been great.
It's crazy. It's so cool now. I mean, the hotel that MLS stay in is really nice. I've been there over the last year or two a fair bit with doing Columbus games with WWE as well, and it's just such a fun town that's thriving. And it's wild to think post COVID and coming out of COVID, I got to travel a lot. I was lucky enough with both MLS and WWE, and it's sad to see certain towns that are struggling and other places are really thriving. And the two cities in Major League Soccer in Ohio, I've found are really thriving right now in Cincinnati and Columbus.
For sure. We were up there for MLS Cup this past year. That was my first time going, and I was blown away because you think about the history of the Crew, right? Just recent history. And it was at a point where they weren't going to have a team anymore. And now the way that entire city as a whole and that stadium, they've built everything up around it. It was just, I was really, really impressed. I was really impressed.
The fans deserve all the credit in the world. They should have all gotten championship rings. Genuinely, every one of them should have gotten some form of championship ring because that team was gone. And in 2020, pre-winning it all, that was the most fairy tale story you could have imagined in MLS history. For this team to look destined to head to Austin, for that fan base to put together this movement, this Save the Crew, nearly like a mini company that they built, and to form, to convince the Haslam family to get on board and purchase the team and keep it in Columbus, and then to win the championship under Caleb Porter that year. It was such a fairy tale story. And now look at them under Wilfred Nancy, such a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, and kind of segueing into the entire, I guess, MLS conversation, but we haven't had you on in a while. What's kind of taking you by surprise in MLS this year as a whole?
Oh man, we've got the positives and the negatives, right? Let's start with the positives. I think what you're seeing right now, and it's a trend. Trends always, it's like a roller coaster. They're up, they're down, they're in, they're out. And one of the trends that this season, I think in Major League Soccer, you're seeing is a real focus on culture and team building and a real identity and play for each other. A little bit of a flashback. So often we're focused on asking coaches and focusing on tactics and the X's and O's. Whereas I think what you've seen with Dean Smith is he's simplified the tactics this year with Charlotte. He's really, forced everybody to buy into what he's doing. The same could be said. Pablo Mastroeni has altered his tactics, different backroom staff this season at Real Salt Lake. And then also out west, I think Chris Armas has ensured that everybody's bought in to what he's doing. And you speak to those coaches and you'd run through a wall for all three, but they just inspire and they have everybody bought in. And it's pretty cool to see clubs like that maybe we didn't predict. And nobody predicted that we'd see Charlotte inside the top four, that we'd see Real Salt Lake in the Supporter Shield conversation this season. And Colorado, as high as they are right now, flirting with a top four place come the end of the season, I'm sure. So such cool conversations there. And then the negative for me, guys, is the home form of some of the real forces within this league. Yeah. You'd expect home form to be like Atlanta United. Our home form this season here at home, wild how it just dropped off completely. And all of a sudden the confidence dropped, the uneasiness amongst the fans, how porous the defense looked. And obviously that coincided with Gregerson, Williams, these guys being out injured, and a look to youth, as you just mentioned there, Tyler. Then you look at Philadelphia, the run they're on at home is diabolical. It is just hard to fathom that, Jose Martinez isn't that player he once was. At the back, Elliott and Glesnes, it's just, where do you start with what's going on in Philadelphia at home? Seattle had to wait until June 15th to win their second home game of a season. Orlando, until last weekend, were the worst home team in Major League Soccer. Orlando, the side that finished second in the Supporter Shield race last year. So I think home form for those, what we would have considered, I think all four of us, top home teams in MLS, for them to be that bad at home is just really, really odd this season, I think.
Yeah, especially with so much discussion about it being, not impossible to win away from home, but a little more difficult to win away from home. And we see it with Atlanta, already their struggles away from home, not just under Pineda, but in previous years before that. They already couldn't win away from home, but now they can't win at home. And I think that's a big reason why they are where they are right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's just so cool to see this team respond of late and win, obviously, against Miami, win again away from home at DC, a good point away against St. Louis. Keep it rolling. It's a real test right now with the rumored move of Thiago Almada, with Giacomakis gone. Look to the likes of Brennan and these younger players. You see three of the back five, 20, 19, and 18. It's a real test, but I think these are the tests that coaches love. Rob Valentino knows this team. He started out, remember, with the twos and worked his way up, and so did Liam Curran as his assistant there, and they understand this core group. They bring in Carl Robinson as well, and I think they'll see working with the youth and getting a tune out of these guys is a real challenge that they'll relish.
So, kind of speaking of Atlanta, just real quick, so we have to obviously talk about Pineda, of course, given the sack a few weeks ago, and I think we all can agree, what a pleasure he was to cover, in the media settings, post-match, pre-match. So, while there's the aspect of it's a business, and unfortunately he didn't get the job done from a performance standpoint, from that professional aspect, from that personal aspect, you hate to see a person of such good quality that you don't really hear anyone talk negative about him, the kind of person he is. So definitely is that personal aspect to it. So I guess, what are your thoughts when you heard the news that Pineda was fired?
It's twofold, right? So, Sid, I'd say that, great guy, one of the best humans I've ever met. Like, when I've spent any time with him, and that's all I've ever heard from internally inside Atlanta United, such a top man. However, Atlanta United and the standards set within this club go beyond what we've seen so far this season. Simple as that. This team needs to be performing at a much better level. I love Gonzalo Pineda as a person. I think he's going to be a success down the road for sure. I'm not sure what happened this season. No one knows. This was like, all of a sudden the tide turned in that Philadelphia game. And from that point, this team just plummeted. And it scares me, because you'd think, looking at that, like, where's the character? Where is the leadership? Where are the ones that are just going to stop that from happening? And it didn't happen. And I think now, the tide is turning once more. I think you can tell that the performances have been much better. There's been a grit. There's been a bit of resilience about this team. They're not folding when there's that little bit of pressure. I wish Gonzalo nothing but the best. I reached out to him afterwards, and I think he's a top class human being. But at the same token, Gonzalo Pineda was a warrior of a central midfielder with an incredible career. Gonzalo knows all about winning teams, and Gonzalo knows that the results weren't up to the standard of Atlanta United.
You talk about expectations of Atlanta United, and once 2020 hit, right, everything went to crap. The world, Joseph Martinez's leg, everything went bad at that exact point. And since then, it seems like the team has been trying to get back to the glory days of the first 3 years, right? Well, now you look at it, and you have a manager position possibly open, depending on what happens with Rob. Now you find out 2 DP spots are open. Money's becoming available. Is this the next 6 to 8 months? Is this the period where Atlanta United has to get it right to get back to the early days of Atlanta United?
Has to get right in what sense? That they might lose the fans? That
well,
they might, like...
to get back to the winning ways that they were, because I mean they haven't really been that force, right? I mean, you see the tweets all the time from certain people that say, Mercedes-Benz isn't the fortress anymore, right? The fans are getting, they're booing, earlier this year. The fans, we had such high expectations the first few years. You're making the playoffs, you're making runs, right? And since then, it just hasn't been the same. And fans are getting frustrated with that. But now that you have all this, I think you finally are clear of all the bad roster mistakes that maybe they've made over the years, right? Like, it feels like now is the time to completely change everything about this team.
I know, but it's difficult because I think the Atlanta United fans have been through change now for 4 years. And it's been, okay, we're going to move on from maybe Josetu last year, or we bring in Slish. We've been through other players like Hyman over the years with Atlanta. It's a challenging one. I think the roster has a lot of really good pieces. Now all of a sudden there's 2 massive holes if Almada leaves, like enormous. But there's an enormous amount of money there to play with. And, Atlanta United has the most ambitious owner in the league, I still think, in Arthur Blank. No question for me. Like, we'll go and do anything he can do that goes along with what he's done that's won so far. And I don't think, and maybe things have changed under Garth Lagerwey, like that he's willing to go after someone who's a little bit more experienced rather than, the Villalbas, Almirons, Martinez's that were 22, 23 at the time they were brought in. I think it's tough. I think it's really tough. But the summer window, you can splash, you can spend, you can make things happen. Seattle in 16 is the greatest example of when a coach, there was a transition with Siggy Schmidt. Brian Schmetzer came in, Garth Lagerwey was there, and they were the worst team up until that point and went on to win MLS Cup. I remember working with the Chicago Fire back in 2013. And in late May, they signed Baki Samari and Mike McGee. Mike McGee had scored 6 goals for the Galaxy already that season. 3 happened to be against the Fire in a hat-trick appearance, or hat-trick in Los Angeles. And then he went on to win MVP, and the Fire were the best team from that point on. Sporting Kansas City, the best team out west. You can hit a run. My point is, in MLS, it's the streakiest league I've ever seen in my life. There were 7 teams, I believe, last weekend before the games. 7 teams, Sasha Klesch and I were looking at, that were on a 3-match losing streak. Like, that is wild. That 7 teams were on that same run. You can hit a run, things can go well. Culture, identity, looking internally, buying into what the manager's saying. I believe Rob is the guy right now. I really do. He understands this club. He understands what's needed. And internally, he's absolutely adored by everybody there. And he's tough. You don't want to mess with Rob. So I just hope he can turn things around. I hope they continue a positive form. The welcome in Toronto this weekend, who've been through the mill of late, who Herdman has not been happy with their performances. So I know I'm waffling here a little bit and I'm going off on a tangent. I just think that it's difficult to reset again mid-season. It's difficult to tell the fans that, we're going to do this all over again. We're going to reset. We're going to bring in a young player and potentially sell him. The fans want stability. The fans want wins. The fans want to identify with something. And when there's constant change, that's difficult.
Yeah, 100%. Consistency is key at this point, I think. Consistently good, obviously. Not consistently like Cincinnati for 3 years in a row. But, so I know you said you were waffling a little bit, but I actually was going to ask you about, you mentioned that 2016 zombie Seattle team. I actually wrote about that over on our website, but it's eerily similar, right? But now that you've kind of seen that happen and you were around Atlanta so much, you were around Atlanta back in 2021 when Rob had his initial, stint as interim manager. What is it that you feel like Rob is going to bring to the team? Because you mentioned being firm. We see that out there at the training ground. We see that the players love him, the people love him, but he's not to be trifled with, like you said. But what other attributes of just being there back in 2021 make you feel like he's going to be a good one?
I think several things. Rob's conditioned by Tata Martino too. Rob came in 2018, and he was a young coach conditioned by arguably the best coach in the league today that's already won an MLS Cup. And I think that willingness to want to play and go after the game and score goals, that Rob has that. But Rob also has that level of Tata that doesn't take any BS and won't tolerate any diva behavior, anything that will upset the locker room. Rob is firm. And I think that the same could be said with Carl Robinson, from my understanding of what he's like. Liam Curran, the list goes on of people that are there now that will be firm, will be fair, and I think that's what players respect. And I know that's what I always want from my bosses. I don't know about you guys, but I want like someone who's going to tell me the truth, be honest. If I've had a terrible show, call it what it is. Tell me, teach me. Like, I want to learn, I want to get better, and I understand that the players are the exact same way. So I like the way Rob is. I've gotten to know Rob a fair bit over the years, and I really like him as a person. He's a family guy. He's a good dad. He's someone who wants to achieve and work his socks off to make it happen. And he loves Atlanta United. Like, he loves this club. You can't just take in someone else from afar that's going to have the same love and appreciation for what the Five Stripes is and what the Five Stripes was from the very beginning. And that's Rob Valentino. And for that reason alone, I think every single fan should get behind Rob at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and give him all the support in the world, because they can feel it, they can absolutely sense it. And when the Five Stripe fans are behind this team, that's when the stadium becomes a fortress.
Put that on replay.
I've got tingles.
I know.
I've got tingles.
I feel like we need to make a montage of this.
Right.
7-1 Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah. So I guess just a real quick follow-up on that, Kev. So what do you think is kind of the baseline that Rob will need to meet, if Atlanta do decide to bring him on permanently?
I do think that's shifted. Would you not agree? Like, you can't lose a World Cup champion if that's the case, right? If Thiago is to leave and then say, well, the goal is still this. The goal is still for you to climb into the top four, for example. Like, the goal had to have been the top four preseason. No doubt about it. This is Atlanta United we're talking about. And we all went into this season talking about Atlanta United as a settled group. That Xande Silva and Saba Lobjanidze, these guys were brought in mid-season last year. Gigi's coming in after an off-season. He's settled. Thiago Almada in his second full year. Like, it just made sense for this to be a really, really good season. And it's baffling that it wasn't. And it hasn't been that way. There's still time. Obviously, it's Major League Soccer. I think Atlanta United in a ninth place right now, right? After the worst run in franchise history, the team, as we speak, is in a playoff position technically. So the team can absolutely go on a run. Top four, maybe out of the equation, but you know what? You never know in this league. You hit a run. You look at West, for example. I think the best three teams in the West right now are there for all to see. It's RSL, it's LAFC, it's LA Galaxy. Yeah. Who's going to take fourth? You have a guess at this point, because it could be Vancouver, it could be Colorado, it could be Minnesota. The list goes on. Fourth place is up for grabs. And I think in the East, there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing too. So you go on a run, you take one game at a time. And I know it's an old cliche, but you literally just take care of Toronto at the weekend and go from there and see what the front office can do. The front office could bring in a couple of ballers mid-season that could add a lot of character and experience to a dressing room and go from there.
It worked last summer. They brought in quite a few guys. Miamba, Silva, Saba, and the offense went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So, I mean, we could sit here and talk about Atlanta all night, but there's other soccer happening around the world, as we maybe don't want to admit sometimes.
What are you watching right now?
Just not stating the obvious or anything. But, all right, so both together, Euros and Copa America, but what have you liked? What have you hated? What have you been into, not into throughout both tournaments so far?
I think the fact that the Euros, anyway, I had England and France a tier and a half, I should say, above the rest. And it hasn't proved to be the case at all. France have 2 goals in 3 games. England have looked woeful so far. I watched that game against Slovenia, and man, they looked toothless. They just looked like they had no idea what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go. England's going home, lads. Says Broshaw Vlogs. I've been messing with Brad on the show. Obviously, you heard me say to him the football's coming home no time soon. It's an interesting one with England, and like Gareth Southgate's heavily linked with the Manchester United job, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen here in 2024 if Ten Hag is let go early in the season. And like, he hasn't impressed Southgate. You just can't produce these performances with that level of roster. Not when you've got the best player from the Bundesliga, best player from La Liga, best player from the Premier League, all in the same team. And I say best player from the previous season. I think so. Yeah, with the Copa America, honestly, my biggest takeaway so far is that there's certain South American teams that have stagnated, and I do think part of my point on this is conditioned by the fact that it's in the US, and it's a little bit unfair in that sense because you're comparing teams, whether it's against the US or against Canada, that are used to playing in these stadia and that are used to being here all the time. So it's probably a little bit conditioned by that. But I look at Peru, I look at Chile, and it's a lot of the same team that I was covering in South America when I was at beIN Sports in 2015, 2016, 2017. A lot of those same players are still there, and they've really yet to freshen up their rosters and move on to another level. And then the wave of Messi mania. It's like he turned 37 yesterday, and this Messi mania is just growing legs every single day. Like, he gets older, yet he gets more popular and more invincible, it seems. Which is just so unbelievably rare. It could be a once-in-a-lifetime thing for us to witness.
So what do you make of the U.S. chances? Of course, they're playing Panama in Atlanta. First time they're playing in Atlanta since the 2015 Gold Cup, so that'll be a big occasion for U.S. fans here around the city. But
are we all going to the game?
I will be out of town. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it.
Yeah. So
I'll be there.
Look, you were at the Benz for many, many years. The press box, freaking madhouse last time when Argentina was there.
Oh, really?
I'll have to send you a picture.
They're not respecting the rules of keeping it down, no?
Well, it's not even that. I mean, it was just like it was full. The press box was beyond full. They had overflow. Like, it was ridiculous. So, of course,
they better respect. If Chris Winkler's in there, they better respect him.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't there.
That's why.
They didn't hold it down for us.
Yeah.
But no, it was wild. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll be up in the press box too. We're also doing a show right next door. If you're free.
Nice.
Saying.
When is that?
It's at 4. It's at the the big hotel right next to the Benz.
Oh, okay.
Nice. The big one. So they have a bar up on the 4th floor.
If I can make it in, I will. We've got cover for the kids from like 3:30, so it might be a bit late.
That's okay.
Heading from up north of the city. But back to your point, I think that the US right now, look, the US, it's what have you done for me lately in terms of the fan sensation and feeling it. Yeah. And right now, I don't know what to expect. But I think against Panama at the Benz, it should be a really good performance. It should be a fun game to go watch. Obviously, against Colombia, horrendous. Against Brazil, better. However, we saw Brazil against Costa Rica, and that made me wonder, was the US performance really that good? Because this Brazilian side has been battered. Ronaldinho has had a lot to say of late. And Brazil don't look that good right now. Although I will say this, the pitches are shortened here for the Copa America. Have you noticed that? Have you talked about that at all? Like, it's an odd one that the pitches are shorter than they would be usually to accommodate NFL stadia throughout. And it's I think that would affect a team like Brazil that are so good in transition, that are so good at stretching the field.
I mean, you look at
Mercedes-Benz. Put them at Yankee Stadium. Let's see what happens.
That chaos is what would happen.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding.
But yeah, I mean, even the Benz is 5 yards shorter on each side, which 5 yards is 5 yards, makes a big difference.
Yeah, especially when you've got the likes of Vinny and Rodrigo. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I want you to be able to get back to your family. We appreciate your time.
Of course. You know what it's like at this time of night. 7:58 p.m. We've got the kids here, and our 3-year-old will do anything to stay up. So it's like all of a sudden there's one more thing. So it's bedtime stories here, and my wife is the one to read the bedtime stories, play, and I just make up crazy stories every night. So I think they enjoy that.
There you go, and they get to hear it from an awesome accent. So there you
go. Tonight it might be, kids, sit down there. Let me tell you the story about Miguel Almiron.
Ostrich.
Yeah.
So when you get back to New York, you got to ask Kaylin real quick too. Ask her which hair studio she's doing the next show in.
She was in a hair studio, was she?
She was. It was hilarious. We had so much fun with it. But yeah, she sent a message. She was like, "I'm sorry, I've got this interview I've got to do. I've got to be in the hair studio. Is that okay?" And we're like, "Yeah, by all means."
Yeah.
So she was talking to her like her hairdresser on the live show and everything. So
yeah, you guys need to make it like the McAfee show, like take me wherever they are, just on the phone.
Yeah. It was
in a car.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Well, always a pleasure, guys. Never hesitate. Just shoot a message, and I'm happy to join you guys and talk Atlanta United or MLS, US, whatever it is. You guys are brilliant. Keep up the great work.
The pleasure's ours. Pleasure's ours.
We appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Take
Cheers,
care. Hi to everybody watching and listening. Take care.
Awesome.
All the best.
Bye.
Bruno, no, I'm not flirting with Kevin. All right. Look, Irish accents are off the chain. I can say that.
They are.
Having a little bit of history of Irish folk in my bloodline.
I miss him on WWE. I like Pat McAfee, but I like Kevin. If we had Kevin and Pat McAfee, that'd be really cool.
Gosh, we gotta get Pat McAfee on. You already he called out Taylor Twellman already. No, Taylor Twellman called him out.
If they had ESPN, if they were still on ESPN, I would. That'd be a dream for me. I know a lot of people hate Pat McAfee. I like fun. Like he brings fun to sports.
Yeah.
Like that. But well, older people don't like him. I'm not calling you old, Sydney, but
I thought they were the same age.
I like. Well, it's how you act. It's how your brain is. But like, he does College Game Day, and he said that he might not re-sign with it because, he said it's not for a certain crowd. But then, like the younger, like I watched every episode of College Game Day last year because of him. I was sick of watching all the old people just being boring every week on the show. Pat McAfee's out there kicking balls, chugging beers in the middle of it.
Just the balls.
When I watch sports, I want to have fun. I want to hear some stats, but I also just want to like laugh. You know what I mean? Have a great thing. And, but like Kevin was great too. Like Kevin's just, he's a good storyteller, right? And he did it here too.
Yeah. Yeah. They always has been. And, it is crazy to me that we're 2 years now removed from him being, a play-by-play.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me, but he's doing a great job up there.
He really is.
We don't get to watch it. At least I don't get to watch it as much because I'm at the games.
Yeah, likewise.
The 7:30 kickoffs, but every time I've seen it, he's elevated that show immensely.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Really has.
Oh,
so TFC.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
I'm sorry. One question.
Go ahead.
Is Rob paying Bruno? Because Bruno puts here, so I heard Kevin agrees with Rob of being our future coach. Does Bruno secretly work for an advertising agency and Rob is throwing some cash here? Because Bruno's everywhere. He's on Twitter. He's on Spaces. He's on here, just pushing Rob.
He was at our live show the other day.
But also, Bruno was like the guy after we beat Miami. He's like, so maybe we're going to sign Pineda to a 37-year contract, right? After that one game. Like, let's not live in the moment. Let's just complete
on
season at there and then go from there.
So, Brian, we had to talk about this. Brian's asking, what are your thoughts about Argentina's complaints of Mercedes-Benz Stadium's pitch? I hadn't heard your thoughts. Dylan saying we can't spell Bruno without Rob.
Oh wait, there is an O. I missed the O. I was like, wait, you can't spell. I was like, he can't spell. I can't spell.
Okay. All right.
Back to Argentina.
Argentina.
I think it's Argentina belly aching. Just play the game, guys.
Quit complaining. Like,
I mean, I get who was it? Kamal Miller, complaining about the pitch, but I mean, still, just play the match. Guys, we don't need all this belly aching.
Yeah, quit complaining. Like, you first of all, you won 2-0. So let's get that out of the way. And I know Lionel Scaloni said in the press conference, I'm glad we won because if we didn't win, it would sound like we were complaining. You are complaining. You're complaining because Lionel Messi missed 2 sitters. You're complaining because the ball bounced a little differently than you're used to. It rolled a little differently than you're used to. I don't want to hear about the safety thing. Like, it's not. Nobody said anything about safety. It's not that. Fine, the ball bounced a little differently, but also there were things that were patently untrue said in that press conference about the way that the grass was laid down, everything else. Like, I get it. It's not ideal. What is ideal is for them to bring in UV lights and grow the grass and it be that way for a significant amount of time so it can take root, everything. You're not going to do that with 2 games here in less than a week. The World Cup, different story. But like, yeah, just quit complaining about it, man. Like you grew up playing soccer and you weren't playing on a perfect pitch every single day. You played on whatever you had the chance to play on. You played on pitches that were not manicured down to a quarter of a inch, like a fairway on a golf course. Like, just adapt and go play the game. Don't complain about it. Get out of it. Like, you can mention it. Fine. It wasn't great. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's how you feel. But don't freaking just trash the entire thing. Like, get out of here with that crap. And I love Argentina, but y'all can screw off with all that crap. That irritated me. Really irritated me.
I mean, people complain about their own fields, though, right? Like when they play on it. It's just talk, right? I'm sure Aaron Rodgers complained about the field when he tore his ACL.
Probably did.
Like, I mean, it happens for sure. I mean, they're obviously worried about their safety and the money that they're going to make, and if the results aren't there, they're going to complain about it. Or, I mean, they probably should have won that game a lot more than what they did, right? I mean, Messi had what? I mean, he had so many opportunities. It could have been a 5-0 game there, right?
Yeah.
And they were just making excuses for not looking as good as they wanted.
Yeah, it's not why Messi couldn't score, like Tyler was saying earlier. So, come on.
Yeah,
Let's just play ball.
Yeah, just go play
ball.
Go play the game. Have fun.
But yeah,
Toronto.
TFC.
If I go crazy here for a moment, I'm also double multitasking. Got the NBA draft on.
Real quick question before we talk about TFC. Who is Zachary Risache? Zachary Risache. Who's that?
Dude from France. I'm not going to pretend like I know who these guys overseas are. I watch college basketball. But
what's this in reference to?
Looks like he's
the NBA draft.
NBA draft.
The NBA draft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. NBA draft.
Yeah. Of course, the Hawks get the number 1 pick when it's like the worst draft in like
it's
since we've all been alive.
Not very deep.
Yeah.
Multitasking. But yeah, guys, TFC is just on a dreadful run of form. Winless in its last 6, 3-match losing streak. They just got shelled by Red Bulls last week. Kevin kind of talked about it. John Herdman has just been ripping this team right and left. A week ago he was like, the same bad habits, from earlier season creeping back in. It's like the old TFC. And then the week before that, he said, I'm angry about the match. I'm angry. And he apologized to the fans. That's after they lost 4-1 to Chicago, of all teams. So they're just in a rough shape. It looked like a team that, from the beginning, was going to go places under John Herdman, at least early on, but they've just come crashing back down to earth. It's nothing to do with the players that they're missing. They're missing a lot of players, but that's nothing to do with that. They just aren't a very good team at this point in time, and it's going to take a little bit for the culture to change from when they were the Wooden Spoon winner last year. So I think it's going to take a little longer for Herdman to really put this team in his image. There's still some players from the previous regime that are still there, that are still in place, that need to adjust or frankly, find other teams. I think they realize that with the new technical director, I think it's Jason Fernandez, with the new head coach, Herdman, of course. So there's going to be a lot of changes, I'm sure, in the off season for this team if things don't go as planned, unless they turn things around quickly. I mean, Jason Hernandez, not Fernandez, the TFC technical director, GM. So, yeah, looks like a pivotal offseason for them unless things kind of turn around for them here the second half of the season, but just in dreadful form right now. And yeah, I think it's really no reason why Atlanta United should lose this game. But hey, I mean, they haven't won really at home lately, so maybe pushing my luck there with that statement. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I think, well, hang on, before I give my thoughts, let me take a quick second. Because it's the day before. I know I just mentioned it with Kevin on here. We mentioned at the beginning. Live show tomorrow, 4:00. Come out. U.S. versus Panama. This is our commercial break. Come out, hang out. We'll have Neil Beathy from U.S. Soccer there, Chief Communications Officer for entire U.S. Soccer. and he'll be hanging out. And May bring some stuff for a giveaway. So if you're there, that's how you be a part of it. So I wanted to give that a quick shout. Also, the Twos are losing right now, 1-0 to Orlando. First game back in almost a month. And then I think Ecuador beat Jamaica a little while ago. So there's your quick updates. So back to Toronto. I agree with you.
I was going to ask, is this the biggest game of the year for Atlanta?
So far.
Like, if you look at the standings and where you are, Tyler or Sydney, you make the face, but like, I'm looking at it right now. You're 9th. You have 21 points. Toronto is in 8th with 24, and then 7th is Nashville. If you lose this game, you now become 6 points behind Toronto for the 7th or 8th spot. Like, if you got to start making moves now. I know it's still kind of early, but we're hitting July here. You need to make a jump, and taking that spot right there, losing if you lose, if a draw, I guess, isn't the end of the world. But if you lose this game to Toronto, you are in a bad situation. All right, the Hawks are going to pick. I'll be right back.
So I don't think. Yeah,
I'm going to come back if you say something I hate, Sydney. So go ahead.
I don't know if it's the biggest game of the year, but I think you need to get your home form in shape really quickly because, like I said, you have no business losing to TFC, the form they've been in. Especially with New England coming up, who are a red-hot team right now, especially with RSL coming up, as I mentioned. Montreal maybe not doing as well this year, but then when you come back after Open Cup, you have NYCFC, you have Columbus. So those are 2 matches before the Leagues Cup break at home that get incredibly challenging for Atlanta United. So I don't think it's must win. I don't think it's probably the match of the season. I think you would do yourself a massive disservice if you didn't win this match against a team that you should beat pretty handily. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. That's why I'm kind of pushing back on what you were saying, Tommy, just a little bit. I understand your thought process as far as that's concerned, but I don't know if it's the match of the season, to be honest with you.
Who was it, Tommy?
Ricochet.
Oh, okay. You were just talking about.
No, I mean, I could give you guys like the old trope right now, but I do think it kind of reigns true more than it has. Every game is the most important game in front of you. Like, I know that's so cliche, but you've got to start making your way back up the standings. You have to start winning games and consistently, and you've got to get your home form under control. So you have to start right now. You have to start with this match, and you should win it. You should win it. And another win, coming off.
Why should they win it? Why should? I'm just curious.
Because the momentum is with them. They're playing pragmatically. I've said that freaking word more times in the past week than I ever thought I would.
Have you said it before this week?
I don't think I have. I really don't think I have. No. But they're adjusting to the team that they're playing. They're not just going out, rolling out the same exact thing every week. And, Kevin mentioned it earlier, but Rob is a guy that he's just not okay with accepting mediocrity. He is firm. He's going to push the team, but he's also got the benefit of the team likes him. You're not going to get anything from yelling and screaming if you've lost the team. You're not going to get anything out of it, but they like Rob. And Kevin's point too about how Rob genuinely just loves this team. He's almost an Atlanta United lifer at this point, it seems like. And so he needs a big game in front of the home crowd. So you need to win. You should win because you're trending upward while Toronto's trending downward, and you got to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of my point. I mean, you got to beat the teams you supposed to win. This is a match that Atlanta United are supposed to win on paper. Granted, you don't win matches on paper in real life, but I mean, you look at how badly this team has been playing TFC. against all levels of competition. And, if you don't get 3 points based on even what you're just talking about, Tyler, the way this team has been playing, the kind of momentum this team is on, that'd be a massive disappointment. A massive disappointment. So 3 points or bust for this team. I know that you won't have Gigi. I know that you may not have Almada, even though you can play. You still have your forward kind of in flux. I know, Tommy, you're shaking your head. No, he won't play. But, I mean, even with that, you'll still have Gregerson, hopefully 90 minutes fit or close to it, 75 minutes fit. You have Williams. So you'll have that center back period that's been doing well for you so far. Granted, you're still missing Saba. You'll still be missing Sleesh. But he'll be back. Yeah, unfortunately, Poland out of Euros. Maybe not too unfortunate for Atlanta United fans, but he'll be back soon. But by the way, he's not being sold to Betsitas, guys. Come on. Whoever planted that rumor.
It's not happening.
Not happening.
Not happening.
But, yeah,
right,
you have
calm down.
Yeah.
I'm letting you know.
No,
I'm
but
squashing the rumors I can squash.
No, but guys, it's 3 points or bust. 3 points or bust for Atlanta United this Saturday.
That's why it's the biggest game of the year. Standings wise, yes, Miami. Like I saw the biggest match this season. Broschel Vlog said, Atlanta versus Messi. Like I get it, but if you're looking at the standings and where you are at this point, right, and what you are losing. Say Almada does play, right? This is Almada's last game. You aren't getting a DP in here probably until Leagues Cup, right? I mean, I think that's when they could play. I think there's one game after the transfer window opens before it goes to Leagues Cup. You're going to be playing shorthanded here for a while, right? So if Almada does play, Almada, you know what? Just get us these 3 points. Get us back into the group of things. Who knows what happens with the rest of the games? But this Toronto game here, you really put yourself behind the 8 ball. Going into the next part of the season because, yeah, I mean, you say you don't look ahead, but you got to look ahead. You're going to be playing these games with a DP light, right? He's not even really a DP player, right? Garth Lagerwey will stick with this thing, DP light player. You really are having no legit DPs out there until the transfer window opens up again.
Yeah. And looking at the standings too, I think that's partially why, again, it's so important because the highest you can make it, you would have to beat Toronto. You would just move up one spot because you're at 21 points. You've got Toronto at 24, and then you have Nashville at 26. So it's big because if you lose, Orlando's tied with you, Philly's 1 point behind you, and then you have New England, DC, and Montreal that are all 2 points behind you. Chicago is just 1 win behind you, and they're in last place. So, you've got to start separating yourself from the pack a little bit. So I agree. I think it's one of those where you've got to come out and win. You've got to separate yourself a little bit. You've got to also just for your fans, for yourself, for the momentum back at home, for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There's a lot of things riding on this one. So it's time to put up or shut up back home. You've had a great road trip. You have. And the Houston match wasn't awful. I mean, again, it was first match in charge for Rob. It's not bad, but you've got to win games. You've got to win games. You've got to win the ones at home. So
yeah, 100%.
Your next 3 are on the road.
Yeah.
Your next 3 regular season games are on the road.
Yeah.
I know we're getting a little bit more confident going on the road because of the past couple of weeks, but it's still difficult. New England, like you said earlier, Sydney, RSL, Montreal, those aren't easy places. And then even when you come back at home, you still got to play New York and Columbus, right? And then the Leagues Cup starts, and then hopefully your team is starting to, has a DP on it, right? At that point.
And Toronto's missing a handful of players. I'm just looking at the injury report and how accurate all of this is going to be. I don't know. Of course, Sean Johnson's out, Richie Laray is out, Jonathan Osorio's out, all for international duty. Bernadeschi is showing sick. So I don't know.
He played against Red Bulls, but they also have the rookie winger Spicer who's out for the next few weeks. They have one of the younger players, Kayeo, go down with an injury. So Herdman said he'll be out for the next few weeks. So this is
one of their center backs as well.
Yeah, this is a team kind of in an injury crisis, like I said earlier, and with multiple players out for Copa America too. So very shorthanded. But again, that just goes back to, you can't give up points against this team. You just can't.
I just freaked out for a second because I just got a notice from ESPN. And it says French wing, whatever that dude's name is.
Yeah.
But I thought it said French winger. And I was like, who are we signing? Wrong sport, wrong team. Carry on. My bad. I had a miniature heart attack.
It was a Woj bomb, not a.
Got me.
Right.
It got me. All right.
You can't be on 2 shows with breaking news.
I know, man.
In one day, right?
On a roll today. So, predictions. It's time.
Ooh.
Sydney, you were muted.
I'm muted. So I'll just take myself out of mute before I speak. That's my amateur hour. I'll say 2-0 Atlanta. I mean, this Toronto team, like I said, like we've just been saying all night or all show long, is just in dire straits, and they can't score. Defensively, they're in shambles. A bunch of their players are missing due to injury or international duty. It's just a banged up team. They're shot mentally, they're shot emotionally with all the factors that we just talked about. They're losing left and right. Their coach is angry at them. The culture is kind of starting to feel like it was last year when they won the wooden spoon. So it's just a beat up and downtrodden Toronto FC team against an Atlanta United team that maybe started to feel a little more confident, like we talked about, and a little more like themselves a little bit. So I'm going to say 2-0. You got to get all 3 points, with this potentially be Almada's last game in the building and a really tough away stretch coming up minus Open Cup. So 2-0, no excuses. Has to be a win for Atlanta United. I'd be really shocked if it wasn't.
Omar. His prediction's 2-1 Toronto. Derek Etienne scores at least one. I'll put it this way. If Derek scores a goal, Sydney will shave his beard off. That's how. That's what's happening.
That's not
here.
happening.
We're throwing in there. Kevin from Charlotte's not here. Kevin's been obsessed with us just doing random things for bets. He just keeps saying, "Oh, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen." No. If Derek scores, I'm gonna be so mad.
Don't even get me started. Derek saying 2-0 Atlanta. Tommy, what do you got? No way.
A lot of these games.
Ariel, what? No, I'm not taking a bet right now. Sorry, go ahead.
I think a lot of these games just, unfortunately, with what you have, a lot of these games are going to be boring. And I said this a couple of games ago. It looked like it was going to be a 1-0 game. I think this is another game that's going to be 1-0, and it's going to be Atlanta 1-0.
All right. Samuel saying 2-1 somebody.
Fair.
Yeah. Bruno saying 3-0 Atlanta. I gotta go with what you said. I think 2-0. Keep a clean sheet at home. Continue to give your defense confidence. I mean, you've got Derek back there. You've got guys that are playing well. Brad's doing well. Keep the clean sheet. And I think this is the game where one of your young guys finally just gets it. It finally happens, because it seems like every game for the past month and a half, it's been one of the newer, younger guys that has come close to winning the game for Atlanta in the last second. For what was it, Chicago Fire? Efrain Morales almost won the game off a header. Luke Brennan has now 2 games in a row. Almost won the game. It's coming.
Fortune could have scored.
Who?
Fortune had
Fortune.
that.
Yeah,
had that rocket.
Screamer. Yeah. I think it's going to happen. So one of them is coming from one of the young guys. I don't know if it's going to be Luke, Jay, Nick Firmino,
Brad Guzan,
Noah. I don't know. The other one, Daniel Rios, I guess.
Good shout.
So, All right, bro show. We're not doing it. I'm not doing a.
We're not doing
live
shirts off.
show
We're not
with
doing
no
shirts
shirt
off.
on. We might get.
Do we have to put like a PG-13 rating on before? Like, is that a rule on YouTube?
It wouldn't surprise me.
It's not a rule. It's not a rule.
I showed my my mother-in-law at the wedding, like me shaving my beard on YouTube. She's like, "Oh, how's the podcast going?" I go, "I got a video for you." and I showed her. She's like, "You're an idiot."
Show's going great. Season, not so much.
Right. Yeah, we got a live show tomorrow, Thursday. Nest on 4 with Tyler. Tony will be there.
Tony.
And we'll be streaming it as well here on YouTube, X, the whole 9 yards as well. If you can't make it out in person, but yeah, definitely make it out in person. Even if you aren't coming to the match, definitely go out there and support us, say hello, and so for a U.S. win.
Yeah,
and
maybe win a giveaway and see Neil Beathy from U.S. Soccer. Tell me what you got.
Quick question: do you guys have like some like team you're actively rooting for in the Euros?
No,
really. In the Euros.
Mm-hmm. We'll go Copa America next. I'll ask you that question after that. But...
I'll say it, but you're gonna hate me.
Who?
I'll let you guess.
Swiss?
No.
Sorry.
Look, it's only because the team that I was rooting for was knocked out already. So I'll give you that hint.
I don't know.
It's England. It's England.
England? Oh, you know what, you loser.
Oh, it's gonna be a short stay for England.
I know.
I
know.
I'm going to Little Italy. I'm going to Little Italy on Saturday.
Huh?
Watch Italy. I'm going to Little Italy on Saturday to like watch with all the Italians. Go with my people. We're gonna do tiramisu shots every time Italy scores, which I think. Just real quick, the Euros suck, man. I mean, they have just been so boring.
They've been many defensive-oriented games, man.
Shout out to Georgia making the group stage, by the way.
That was sweet. I mean, the Italy game, like, that was really cool. Seeing Cellini like celebrate that goal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen that video there. That's my hero. But man, that was, I fell on the floor. I tripped. When Italy scored, like I got up and my son was there watching, and I just fell over. I was like in shock.
Yep. What about you? Sydney?
I would like to see England win it, but I don't think it's happening. But I'll just say England.
Do you guys root for the Dallas Cowboys too?
And
the Yankees, the Lakers. Yeah. Who else? What other?
I'm just gonna say it.
Both
I'm not
teams have won something though.
Yeah, that's true. I could do a better coaching job than what Gareth Southgate's doing right now. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. Like, it's fundamental coaching mistakes. The Italians are going to lose. Let's break the positive.
All right, what about Copa America?
Copa America.
U.S., right?
I mean, it's the U.S., obviously. But besides the U.S., it's Uruguay.
I'm just sticking with the U.S. I don't know if I have any teams outside of that.
Yeah,
I love Uruguay. I really love Marcelo Bielsa. I could care less about Uruguay, but I love Bielsa as a coach. I love just everything about the philosophy. That's the nerd part of me. And I just love that pretty much any team he goes to, his style is instant. How he just implants it on a team, it's wild. Bruno said Colombia. That's a good shout. Real quick, predictions for U.S. Panama. 2-1
Panama.
Say 1-0 U.S.
Okay.
3-0 U.S.
Okay, Dan. Let's go.
Spicy.
Let's go. I like
it. Well, I need one of you to go out there and check the pitch beforehand, and then let me know the feel of it, and then we'll see.
I'm gonna make my way down there and go run across.
Is Bruno just attacking me? Like what? He just goes the complete opposite of me. 3-0 Panama.
Bruno.
I know I've told the story before, but man, there were about 3 guys from Panama that were ready to murder me once because I had been drinking all day, and it was USA or Panama played the game earlier, and the Open Cup. It was like not Open Cup, the Gold Cup, and it was a doubleheader in Cleveland, and Panama played first, and I started singing. Well, me and my dumb friend started singing, "Oh Panama," instead of "Oh Canada." And we thought it was hilarious because we were many, many drinks in, and then we turned around, and there were 3 guys with Panama jerseys and
and knives just standing there.
And the rest is history.
It was not good. But yeah, there was a group text going on, and we were all singing "Oh Panama" when I was trying to get them to go out on Thursday to watch the game with me.
We'll get the chant going.
I hope someone does it. I hope someone's watching this game and they just start singing "Oh Panama."
I like it.
If you're from Panama, I apologize.
Yes, sorry to our Panamanian listeners.
Yes, your country's great.
To all you Panamaniacs out there. All right, I think we've hit the witching hour. It's time to end this.
We're there, right at an hour and a half, so a solid show. It was a busy one. We had a lot to talk about, but we will be back. I think we decided on Tuesday because the game is Wednesday and 4th of July is Thursday.
Sure, why not?
Tuesday.
It makes the most sense. So. We also have Spaces this weekend, and of course the live show tomorrow. So y'all come out, please. Come hang with us. Get you a cool drink.
And if Tyler offers you a shot, will someone take it?
Take the shot, dude.
I don't understand. I don't understand how nobody would just go take it.
It took a guy from Philly coming up to get that free shot. After
Did
me
you check his
asking
ID?
like 16 times. No, I'm not the police.
You look cold enough.
Well, it was a what's his face's joke. Philly checking IDs.
Yeah, you're right. Dude. I'm so sorry, dude.
Sorry, I went over your head.
I did. Like we're
My
at the
presentation of these jokes
fine.
haven't been good today.
I mean, it was a good joke. I got to give it to you. It was me. I'm so sorry. I ruined that one for you.
It's okay.
Freaking Jim Curtin. Turd.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.